something.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking to now YouTube viral sensation, Matt Inman, one of my oldest friends and training partners. What we're going to be speaking to Matt primarily about today is that for the last year, he's done close to 200 matches in about 9 or 10 months. And so an immense amount of experience within a short amount of time. Having already competed in professional MMA, pro boxing, jiu-jitsu before that, so like a great level of achievements already. And we're just going to be talking to him about some of the things that he's picked up for like over the course of that near 200 matches. So thank you very much for joining us today, Matt.
Thank you for having me.
It might be worthwhile just explaining who us are for the uninitiated. So I'm Ross. I coach at SBG in Aberdeen, and the first person you heard was Casey, and he heads up SBG Shropshire. And for our students and training partners, we do chats semi-regularly on sports performance specifically. So after Matt's stellar year, we thought it would be an interesting discussion to have him on so people could hear some insights from him about what he's learned. So that said, Matt, I know you're a man that likes a stat. Can you tell us exactly how many matches you had and how many wins you had and any other details you think will help people get a better insight into what you did this year?
Yeah, so I started the year with the goal of competing in 100. I returned to competition after COVID last year, and I started just sort of competing again. So at the start of 2022, and I ended up last year with 66 matches. So that was 20. What are we now? 2020. Yeah, it's 2023 now. That was 2022. Was 66 matches, and then a few people jokingly said to me like, "Oh, you're going to go for 100 matches next year." So then, like, I kind of took that. So 100 started as the target, and I hit 100 matches pretty much halfway through the year. I think it was like July or something. I hit the 100th match. So then I started pushing for 150 matches, which I made. And then the final goal was 200 matches, which didn't look like it was going to happen anyway. I probably wasn't going to do it just based on the amount of competitions that were left in the year. But I injured my knee 4 weeks ago, so that put an end to the season. But the final stats were 160 matches, which is the bit I can remember, and I've got everything else written in my phone. There was 121 wins, 48 by submission, 39 losses, 9 by submission. So that was the total. So 160 matches with, 121 wins.
So it's a pretty decent record by anyone's view, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there was like, not every match was at black belt level because I did a lot of competitions like grappling industries and stuff like that. So occasionally you'll do this thing where they have like an open weight, but it'll be everyone in the nogi open weight. So your first round, you might get a white belt or something like that. So it's been inflated slightly like that. I don't think the record would look quite as stellar if it was purely IBJJF black belt competition.
I mean, it's maybe inflated slightly, but one thing I've spoke about this with a few people is I've done like comps like that, like where it's been purple belt and above, and I'd say like my physically toughest match that I ever had, like the one where I had to really dig deep and get back, was against a purple belt. Like they're not easy matches against like another human being trying to kill you. So it's not as deflated as you kind of make out there. Like it's still tough.
But you can. I mean, I think that's like sometimes I think, especially as black belts, you get into the, like, I see a lot of kind of guys who are like, all right, well, we only compete against other black belts, and that's kind of, it's almost like an out for them, where they're like, like potentially like fucking, we all know there's some really good purple belts out there. I have some in my gym who just terrorize me.
Yeah, I mean, well, imagine going to a comp and you rocked up, say like, I don't know, like 8 years ago or like 10 years ago, and you just go in for like an open weight with mixed belt, and you get Gordon Ryan as a blue or purple belt. You know, it's not as always as easy as it might seem going there. You know, like Gordon Ryan as a blue or purple belt is, or do you remember rolling with Gunner when he was a blue belt? That's like rolling with someone that's better than a black belt. So
that's the thing, right? And then like if you're like the adult world champion blue belt now, I'm sure he's going to beat most black belts.
Yeah, and also like with the lower belts, what I find particularly tough is because they tend to be younger. They're not breakable, they don't know they can break. Like they'll put a lot more. They'll put themselves in positions where you basically end up. What I felt a few times was that I'd have the choice of becoming injured or conceding a few points, and so like most of my points were almost against lower belts. Like if it took the whole career, it's like most of the points conceded were against lower belts because they were willing to like break their leg to get 4 points.
Yeah, and then I think sometimes if you are a black belt, you're a bit more experienced. You kind of know when you're beaten as well. You're like,
yeah,
right, I'm beaten. I might kind of take me out there. So yeah, like that's what we were saying. Yeah, that kind of, I guess the stats are the stats, but yeah, that's part of it, definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
Were there any other factors as to why you did the challenge, or was it just based on someone suggesting a number and you thought, oh,
it's mainly because of the number. It set off my my OCD trying to get the numbers out. That's why I was glad I finished on a round number. Rather, if I'd have got injured in the 159th match, I think I'd have still dragged myself on for the 160th match just to make sure that number was rounded out. But then I think I only competed sporadically through the coloured belts because my main focus was always MMA. So from like pretty much from I think 21, I turned pro in MMA up till I had my last fight in 2020. So that's like, I don't know, it was like 15 years maybe of being focused more or less on MMA, and I always loved grappling competitions, and I always obviously loved training jiu-jitsu. So it was always my plan to compete more once I'd finished with MMA. And I noticed like a lot of the kind of guys who were competing really well, especially in the Masters division at black belts, they had a fairly extensive competition experience before black belts. So they'd come up through the coloured belts. I think guys like Casey's a great example of this. Ross Nichols, who is one of my main training partners at London Grapple, coaches now, he was the same. Like he was competing very regularly at every belt level. And I think there's just, especially when I first started back competing, because it was like I'd compete sporadically at a small competition maybe once every 6 months. I'd get like a handful of matches a year when I could really. And I just felt like there was a lot of like one side of it was there's a lot of kind of sharpness of competition missing, like where I wasn't as astute to like tactics, understanding like my way around the scoring system and that as well. And then just I think also that idea of like competing a lot gets you more comfortable with it, and I felt like I lacked that as well. So I felt like one of the things I could do, because like going forward, I do like at Masters level at least, I intend on winning some big competitions, but I needed to bank as much experience as I could, almost to make up for the deficit that I felt that I had from the guys who were sort of able to do that now. You know, the guys who were winning the worlds at Masters black belts have been competitors all through the belt levels. They were, good blue belts, good purple belts, good brown belts, good black belts at adult, and they're now good black belt masters. So I was like, well, I'm just going to try and make up that shortfall of 15 years of experience missing and do it in 1 year.
And then when do you think the penny started to drop on some of the stuff that you've highlighted there? Tactics, etc. Like, do you feel now you've got a handle on that kind of stuff, or do you feel you need even more matches?
I think I'm getting a lot better. I think at first I'd be coming out and stuff like I'd be messing up a guard pull and guys would be snatching an easy 2 points on me, and just stuff like, I can't even think of examples now, but just like like stupid ways of giving up points, like
yeah,
like a guy would sit back on a footlock or something and I wouldn't come straight up to take my two, and kind of stuff like that. I feel like a lot sharper with that now, and I always notice that like now if I compete against another black belt who might be technically as good as me, but then they'll make those same mistakes if they don't compete a lot. Like they might give you the two off, like they'll mess the guard pull up or something like that, so that's definitely there. But then having said that, there's guys who are still a lot better at playing that game than me. I think the match I lost at the Euros was pretty much down to that. The guy just knew the tactics to the absolute nth of the game. So I think you can always improve with that. But then the question is like, really, like, I'm only competing because I want my jiu-jitsu game to be better. So I don't want to win necessarily by just learning how game the rules better than everyone else. I want to win because I have better jiu-jitsu. So I'm trying not to get too focused on the tactics side of it.
So Casey, how do you feel about that with the way you've come through jiu-jitsu?
I think in terms of getting match experience, I understand like acquiring that extra experience as well. I mean, I suppose like I started competing like pretty regular, like a lot of competitions around like white, blue, purple belt. Not so many at brown belt, but I suppose I was only a brown belt for a few months, so I didn't get too much. And at that stage, like brown belts were always competing with black belts, so I was already competing with black belts then. So I do feel like getting that extra experience is important, but I like what Matt said at the end, which is trying to use it to improve your jiu-jitsu more than anything else. And this was, I think this is like maybe from like both being like Carl's black belts, is Carl would always have me like trying to get better at jiu-jitsu rather than getting better at, like, you have to have an appreciation for tactics, and it should be something like you're not conceding easy points and trying to get rid of those errors. Like, so it's like there's a few things where you're just trying to minimize errors and not conceding easy points, but still overall getting better at your tactics. And I mean, it's something that I felt by, like, I don't compete anywhere near as much now, but I felt that by the end of like my competitive career, when I was competing all the time, I'd really minimized the amount of points that anyone was scoring on me. And I think that is like through experience, you know, being able to push my game onto someone without conceding points. And I think that's probably where like Matt's coming from now is like he's getting rid of error, like almost stopping people from getting those cheap points while still being you in competition and still getting your personality and your game out. I think, and I think like only experience can really do that.
Is that how you feel now, Matt?
Yeah, I think that's true. It's like, it's almost like making unforced errors. Like you need to iron out that part, but then at the same time you like that's a good you know, like a good way to put it. But you want your own game to come out. Like I'd hate to think, I'd rather like be someone who's doing good jiu-jitsu, even if you're coming up short there, rather than being the guy who wins, but he does it by timing a guard pull and then he plays the boundaries for the next 5 minutes and it's just like, well, you got the gold medal and stuff, but then what, like, great. Yeah. You know, like I can understand that, like if it's a win at all costs kind of mentality, but I think like I think really, and I'm sure Casey's the same, like the like jiu-jitsu is going to be like a lifelong thing for me. I want to get as efficient. I want to have like jiu-jitsu that looks nice. So like competition, I just feel like it's a good vehicle for getting there. So like I always feel like, especially like in MMA, it was the same when I was fighting regularly. I felt like I was improving most. So same idea, yeah, just competing, but not for the sake of competition so much, just for the sake of improving my jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I think as well, I just had like flashbacks to like my last match at adult, like in the World Championships, and I lost by the cheap 2 points. Like a guy grabbed my gi pants on the way down, and I said I was going to retire after that World Championships and never compete again. And then like it burned in my mind that like I hadn't made a mistake like that for years, and just to end on that that mistake was just ate away at me for years. I felt like I need to go back and do something again. So yeah, it's I mean shit happens, but I mean I think getting those mistakes out, I sort of needed to go back to competition and prove to myself that I don't make mistakes all the time, and it's just a pant grab, and you know you can get back to doing it. So trying to get those things out, it's difficult.
What do you think? Do you think there's any other major tactical mistake you can make other than having someone touch your legs as you pull guard? What do you? Because that's the only example we've used. Is there a different tactical mistake?
Yeah, I would say one I commonly see is guys not sweeping in a position that they're going to score the sweep. So it kind of spirals off the mat. You're not able to stabilize it. You get reset standing in the middle. Like, you only get so many chances to get points in a match. Yeah. So I always tell guys, you can't leave points on the table. So like pull the guy back to the middle, trip them down there, for example. Like don't let it get out of control and have the ref just restart you.
And actually completing the sweep's so exhausting as well. You might get you get one of those in a match sometimes. You want to make sure that you convert. Yeah, 100%. That comes down to that's why guys play the boundaries role, right? You get
I suppose when we're talking about tactical mistakes,
as soon as you shoot your takedown, they're off.
Yeah, I think what we're talking about is conceding cheap points, isn't it? I suppose there's lots of variations of tactics where, like, you watch matches and people make mistakes all the time. You just think you're just wasting energy when it's when it's not necessarily people trying to be active for no reason, like trying to show they're doing something. But I think again that's part of the jiu-jitsu mindset. Is that whenever I watch someone doing good jiu-jitsu in a match, it ends up in a draw, they lose. It's because referees generally tend to not be very good at jiu-jitsu. And also, if you look at it, let's not mention the gym, but let's say 80% of them are from a certain gym chain. And if you don't play like that style of jiu-jitsu, they just don't like it. So they don't see it as being valid. So you get it's difficult because at what point do you say, well, if I went out and played like this guy, okay, I'd win more matches, but it would be bad jiu-jitsu. So it's where I suppose where do you draw the line between making a tactical error for the sake of one match or making a tactical error which will negatively influence your game overall as well. So I suppose there's layers to that and how you do it. I think
one could also argue that being on top of all this is crucial. For example, in the ADCC, I think guys that do really well in that rule set are on top of all the rules that are not that
I'm going to completely disagree, but I'm going to say for years that guys that do ADCC are terrible at rules, because the only one I've seen do it really well and who plays the rule system really well is Gordon Ryan.
Gordon Ryan does it well, yeah.
The best thing tactically to do, and I've maintained this for years, and Gordon's proven this, is you go out and you let the guy grab your leg, and you basically resist enough to wear them out. So when you start on the ground, you've got a free guard pull with them exhausted already. I mean, that just makes complete tactical sense in terms of jiu-jitsu, and he's just got. I mean, that's why he goes out and sticks his leg out there, and everyone else is wrestling up, doing bad wrestling and hand fighting on the feet. So when they get down there, they're both knackered and can't do anything.
Yeah, but there's things within the ADCC knowing that it's 3 seconds in areas that have to expire before you can move on. So if you move too quickly out of the position that's been established, you haven't established that position, and that can come back to bite you. I think there are guys that are on top of how long they have to be in turtle before they move out of it, etc.
Yeah. I mean, I do think with this that the guys don't have enough competitions with ADCC rules. So I don't think. I think the guys in the IBJJF, because they compete every other week, they're used to those rules and they get better at manipulating the rules for their purposes.
I think that was the case in the past. I think now you're seeing more of these ADCC opens. People are going to start getting a handle on it a little bit more, because that was always like for me, I literally don't know the ADCC rules. So whenever I compete ADCC, I'm kind of I think the last time I did it, I was on a guy's back and I slipped off the back to guard, and he took points for that. And I had no idea that he could score points for that. I was just thinking IBJJF style, but that was and I was like, oh shit, he scored. I need to score back.
Yeah. I also think with the ADCC and stuff, it's not knowing that the points just appear on the screen, they don't get shown. It's just guys getting used to that. It's really weird.
Yeah.
So ultimately, or what we're saying is, whatever style of competition you're doing, it's important to get a lot of experience in that competition.
Yes, definitely, and you should know the rules as well.
Yeah, I think knowing the rules.
You should definitely know the rules, and then then you have to hope that the referee knows the rules as well. Which is
difficult.
It's not always guaranteed.
I'd say go to rules meetings as well, because I refereed at the World Championships, and you go to rules meetings and they're obsessed about a few things. They really want a few rules hit home on each year. So they might obsess about, let's say, an advantage for a certain thing, and that they completely skip over everything else, and then you see the referees looking for that certain thing all throughout them. So I think if you really do want to get into it, I think rules meetings are a pretty good thing to go to, because you want to see what the thought process of the referees is going to be.
And so I think a good question coming off that, and you guys as coaches, and something I think about a lot, because I think it's very different to the way that we would have trained with Carl, is how much would you tailor training specifically to a rule set? Okay, so like, you know, like how much time would you spend practicing stuff that's not particularly useful for actual jiu-jitsu, like in the way that we think about it in the more holistic sense? Like, say, but obviously in the gym, if you can practice timing people on guard pulls, is that worthwhile to spend time? Should that just be for competitors? Like where do you stand on that, if that makes sense?
I practice. I do a few drills. Like we go through a curriculum. I'd say I spend about 80% of my time, or at least I try to, doing purely like fundamental jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Not like showing my style, or just trying to work on getting good jiu-jitsu, and about 20% of the time sort of branching off to do smaller things.
Right.
Within that 20%, like I'll try and make different guard pulling drills each year. But some of these things are for safety as well. Like I think learning how to have someone jump guard on you is like an essential skill. But
But also leads to my next question: can you actually train receive? Because this is like obviously, if, for anyone who doesn't know, right, my leg got like bent the wrong way off a guy jumping guard on me, and like one of the like it went viral because Grapple Club like reposted it and stuff, and one of the like main like internet troll comments was like, whoa, that guy's a black belt, he should know how to like receive the guard pull, like he received the guard pull wrong. I'm like, well, how like can you actually practice receiving a guard jump? Because like you can get someone to jump guard on you and you can like stand in posture and be ready. No, they're going to jump guard on you, right? It's too dangerous to just have people jumping guard on each other in the gym. So what, like, can you drill that?
I think you can drill it a bit. Like I think we can drill anything and improve it.
Do I just need to squat more?
I mean, squatting more helps. Like having guys jump guard on you. So when I trained in the Middle East, and I suppose it's partly because everyone's a black belt that's training.
Did everyone used to jump guard in the gym in the Middle East as well?
Everyone was jumping guard. Like there was no bad, you know, like everyone was stand up and jump guard. So you get pretty used to it. Like it's a thing, and it's like almost just.
Were many legs broken?
But like I mean, the other thing is that like I'd say that you get like you get used to, let's say, the allowable slam. You know, like the guy's going to jump, and you get used to that weight, and you just like, fine, I'm just going to take, just go with it. And it's like in a competition, you're going to concede like a negative point for it. But I'd rather do that than have my leg broken. I think, I mean, what I'd say is Matt's just too nice. That's what's happened. He's like been too nice, kept the guy up, but I would have just gone forwards and let him fall. It's like, well, but again, like I suppose like I use the guard jump like a weapon. If someone stands up too straight, like I'll go and throw myself around him, and it's like, well, it's up to you to like receive me safely, and it's up to me to land safely if I get slammed. And I kind of
as a serial guard jumper, how would you feel if guard jumping was banned?
I mean, I'd just work around it. I wouldn't really give a shit, but it's right. Because like it's not a. I'd say it's not fundamental jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
because you're not going to do you're not going to jump guard in a fight, are you? Like
it's a bad idea to jump guard in the street, I would say.
Yeah, it's a terrible idea. I mean, I used it because it's in the rules, and like you use it as a weapon while it's there. But I just sit down and drag them into guard instead. I'm absolutely happy doing that, and I'm happy throwing as well. The issue with jiu-jitsu is you don't get the time to throw, so you end up having to do something else to get the match going, and it's a good way to get connected to them and make them work without that. So I think in order to ban the guard pull, you need to work on actually having some stand-up rules, because there is no real. What I've seen a lot of times is we get guys who go to actually good at takedowns or throws, and the referee sees some action. They don't know what's gone on, and they just assume it's been a guard pull, not a takedown. We get so many times there's not takedown points scored. So if we get more like sophisticated rules around kind of like what should be going on stand-up wise, or we just have to kind of accept it as a tool. But I'm perfectly happy for it to be banned. I think it is. I'm going to use it while it's there, but also I'm perfectly happy just to drag them into guard as well. Dragging them into guard works say almost as well, and it means I don't have to get slammed while I'm doing it. So
yeah. What are you saying, Ross? Leave it in or ban it?
At the highest level of jiu-jitsu that I watch, IBJJF, you don't really see the actual guard jump happen very often between like two black belts for guard to get established. So the other thing is like it's very hard to replicate like the crazy energy that can be happening in a match.
Yeah.
So the guard jump that happened to you would be like difficult to replicate in the gym. Whereas like if we're doing guard jumps in the gym, it's a bit more patterned, a bit more controlled. So it's not necessarily like how it's going to be in a match where someone's like hauling you forward by the collar, throwing their hips around you. You stumble because like how can you not at times? You know, your balance is all over the place. It's like a leg gets overloaded. It's difficult to replicate. Like we do guard jumps, but again, it's not going to replicate the guard jump that the guys all face in competition. So I think it's like, you know, you've got like a very small window to like switch on to the guard jump that's going to happen and how you react to it. And you might make the right decision or you might make the wrong decision. Unfortunately, with the guard jump, it's like if you make the wrong decision, the outcome can be catastrophic. So it probably shouldn't exist in competition just because, like, if they ban reaping, you know, like why have they got guard jump? It's more dangerous to knees. It doesn't make sense.
But there's so many things which it's so difficult because like, how far do you go down the rabbit hole of, well, this is dangerous, so we don't do it? I mean,
yeah, fair point. But
and also like the guard jump. The guard jump, to be fair, it gets rid of some like bad tactics because lots of like, you know, blue belts will go out and they're too upright and they're just grip fighting. And it's just like, well, it'll make them bend their knees a bit, you know, like you get closer to the floor, you get into a wrestling posture because you don't want to be guard jumped. It kind of promotes some good behaviors in your students. Like, if you've got to watch out for it. Yeah, because like, you know, if you go out to a competition, you don't really have to worry about being taken down that much, unless you're going to fight someone who's been on a judo squad in Britain. You're not going to really risk being taken down. So people get like way too upright in their posture. They don't wrestle well. They do lots of bad behaviors. Whereas just that threat of a guard jump will make them at least bend their hips, and, you know, it sort of makes them a bit more athletic. So it's like I say, until we get some more sophisticated rules for the stand-up phase, I think it kind of serves a purpose.
So Casey loves guard jumping. Cool.
Just to answer Matt's question, we do one session a week that's competition for BJJ. So a Thursday night, we do half an hour rolling and then we do an hour of comp specific training. And it's a lot to do with like how to pull, where to score, tactics, stuff like that. And it's just like 1 hour on the timetable just to focus in on that.
Probably like a similar kind of percentage to what Casey's talking about. And it's like 80% is going to be fundamental good jiu-jitsu, and then you can put like 20% in extra stuff. Just like, I guess it's just like training legs, training anything, and then training for competition rule sets. Yeah, man.
The other thing I think you can
subject matter.
Is I do think there's like stuff that happens in regular training that you can make people aware of that will help them in competition. For example, like you should always be aware of your surroundings. So whether that's to score the sweep or whether that's to not land on a training partner who's next to you. You can highlight that as training's happening. So it's like, you always know about your surroundings. So like these little things can get dropped in as well. It doesn't have to be like one specific class or week.
That's one of the main mistakes I see in competition is people not knowing where the edge of a mat is. It's like you should absolutely know where the edge of a mat is. I mean, like one of the mats I had at a British Open this year, like I knew full well I was going near the edge of the mat. So you start moving yourself around to make sure you're facing, so their defense faces back in. So we're not going to get a reset from a triangle. Whereas I watched like two other people, which are friends with, and they just went out and got reset. And you're like, well, just, you know, you need to be aware of where you are. So I think like, you know, just getting people to not roll on top of each other in the gym. It's not just about like, it's about safety primarily, but it's also about being aware of your surroundings. If you can't do that, you're not going to be as good a fighter.
So that being said, if we're training for ADCC rule set, would you let them just run into the pairs next to them and continue?
Absolutely, yeah. If ADCC training, what I do is I'd open the door.
ADCC going like out into the changing rooms, banging car benches.
I just put an obstacle course at the end of it for Matt and get him to run through it as hard as possible.
Get a few chairs in there and stuff.
Okay, well, we're going to have to take a quick break,
Cool.
but we'll be back with much joviality after we've adhered to the Zoom.
Well, actually, I mean, I'm going to cut this part off anyway, so there'll be no break for anyone on there. So you can start.
All right.
You can say any
we can just